ruined my best friend's wedding. After she stole my life, I was the maid of honor at my best friend's wedding. I planned the whole thing. The flowers, the music, the 10-foot peony arches. I even wrote her vows. All she had to do was show up and walk straight into the trap I'd spent 6 months building for her. Welcome to Boomerang Stories. I'm Alana. Before we dive into how to dismantle someone's life with perfect public precision, I need you to do something. Look at the screen right now. Tell me where you're joining us from. Drop a comment, just your city. It tells YouTube real people are here, invested in real stories of consequence. And if you believe some betrayals deserve a masterpiece of revenge, hit subscribe, turn on that bell. We craft these stories every week. Now, it began with a text message. One I wasn't supposed to see, on my fiancé's phone, from her. Can't stop thinking about today. That was the first thread. When I pulled it, my entire life unraveled. She wasn't just sleeping with him. She was methodically replacing me, stealing my business, my clients, my designs, and repackaging them as hers. She even stole my wedding venue, my color scheme, my future. So I gave her a new role to play, the bride, and I made sure her walk down the aisle was the longest walk of shame anyone in that town would ever witness. This isn't a story about heartbreak. It's a blueprint for when your best friend becomes your worst enemy and you decide to return the favor. Let me show you how it's done. Let me take you back to the beginning, before the silk and the betrayal. Her name was Chloe. We met in a dusty college art studio, splattered in the same shade of cobalt blue, laughing at the same terrible painting tutorial. We were opposites that magnetized. She was a human sparkler, loud, bright, chaotic. I was the steady hand, the one who planned, who built. Together, we created a tiny graphic design business from my living room floor. We named it Ink and Alchemy. Our dream was to make beauty. Our reality was a lot of instant noodles and convincing local bakeries that a good logo was as important as good flour. And then there was Daniel, my Daniel. He walked into our pop-up market stall one rainy Saturday and bought 3 prints he definitely didn't need, just to keep talking to me. He was solid, kind, had a smile that felt like a safe harbor. When he proposed after 5 years, hiding the ring in a box of my favorite powdered donuts on a perfectly ordinary Tuesday, Chloe was the first person I called. Her scream of joy was so pure, so loud, it vibrated through the phone. "We're planning this together," she shrieked. "Every single detail. This is our project." And it was. For beautiful, blinding months, it was pure magic. We were architects of joy. We drowned in fabric swatches and cake samples. We debated the emotional weight of peonies versus garden roses. She was my fiercest ally, my creative other half. We were building my future, brick by beautiful brick. The first crack was so fine, I told myself it was a trick of the light. Daniel started working later. "The Henderson account is a nightmare," he'd sigh, rubbing his temples. Chloe began forgetting our planning meetings. "Client emergency," her texts would read, always last minute, then that text. On his phone, glowing on the bathroom counter while he showered. From her. "Can't stop thinking about today." My blood turned to ice water. When I asked him, his explanation was ready, smooth as poured glass. "The Henderson account is stressing her out too. She's just venting. You're imagining things, Leah. She's your best friend." I chose to believe him, because the alternative, that my future husband and my best friend were weaving a secret world between them, was an abyss I couldn't peer into. The mind will build elaborate fortresses to avoid that kind of truth. Then, the catastrophe. Our business hard drive, the one containing every client file, every original design, our entire financial history, crashed. Completely, irrecoverably. Chloe was hysterical, sobbing in my arms in my kitchen. "We're ruined, Leah. Everything we built, it's just gone." The timing was devastating, with wedding deposits looming. We grieved like we'd lost a child. 1 week later, Daniel ended it. In our sunlit kitchen, the very ordinary morning feeling like a crime scene. His words were hollow, rehearsed. I love you, Leah, but I'm not in love with you anymore. We want different things. He said he'd already moved his things out. He placed my key on the table. The click of metal on wood was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. For 3 days, I was a ghost in my own apartment. I floated through rooms haunted by 2 futures, the one I lost and a gnawing, sickening suspicion about the one being built in the shadows. And through it all, Chloe was there, the perfect friend, bringing groceries, answering my 2 a.m. calls, playing the role with award-winning conviction. On the 4th day, a stubborn, desperate instinct made me log into an old, forgotten cloud backup, a digital safety net from our earliest, most paranoid days. A backup of the backup. The files were there, every single one. The hard drive hadn't crashed, it had been wiped clean. And in a folder marked Inspiration, I found her masterpiece, a complete business plan for Chloe Design Co., my client list, my portfolio, my proprietary design process, all rebranded with her name. The date on the document was 2 months prior, and then the mock-up, a wedding invitation, Chloe and Daniel. The date was 6 months away, my venue, my colour scheme, my peonies. This wasn't a crime of passion, it was a corporate takeover, a hostile merger of my entire life. She hadn't just stolen my fiancé, she had stolen my career, my creativity, my identity, meticulously packaged it, and was preparing for her launch. The fire that ignited in my chest then wasn't rage. Rage is hot and messy. This was colder, sharper. It was the focused, blue-white flame of a star collapsing into a black hole. Silent, immense, and capable of bending the very light around it. I didn't scream. I didn't burn her house down. I took a breath so deep it felt like my first, and I began to plan a different kind of wedding. I called her. My voice was the perfect, cracked whisper of a woman shattered. Chloe, he's gone. The business is gone. I have nothing. Her performance was flawless. Gasping sobs. That monster! I can't believe he'd do this to you. I'm here, Leah, always. I need to get away, I whispered, laying the trap with the tenderness of a mourner. Maybe helping with your wedding. I heard you and Daniel. I just need a distraction. I need to feel useful. The pause was microscopic, the sound of a predator scenting wounded prey. Oh, Leah, she breathed, her voice syrup-thick with false sympathy. Would you? It would mean everything to have my best friend by my side. Let's make it beautiful. For both of us. The game was on. She saw a useful fool, a broken tool she could still wield. I saw a playwright handed the script to her own tragedy. I became the most dedicated maid of honor in history. I weaponized her theft. Every detail she'd stolen, I amplified into a grotesque caricature. The peony arches. Genius. But let's make them soaring, 10 feet tall. Let people feel like they're walking into a cloud. A string quartet. Lovely. But for a venue this grand, we need a 12-piece chamber orchestra. It's a once-in-a-lifetime moment. The 5-tier cake. Stunning. Let's add a 6th with edible gold leaf and a cascade of sugar roses. I encouraged every insanity. I used the last of my drained business credit to secure the most exclusive, non-refundable vendors, whispering to them about the massive tech IPO money behind Daniel's new venture. I watched their combined savings, the money that should have been our future, vaporize into deposits for flowers that would wilt, wine that would sour, and a cake that would never be tasted. And as I planned her downfall, I rebuilt myself, quietly in the shadows. I resurrected ink and alchemy from the backup ashes. New name, new identity. I reached out to our old clients, not as a competitor, but as a concerned friend. I just want to make sure Chloe isn't overwhelmed with the wedding while handling your rebrand. In these gentle calls, I'd let slip, ever so subtly, about the mysterious hard drive crash. I planted seeds of doubt about her ethics, her stability, her loyalty. The wedding week arrived, a destination event at a remote, obscenely expensive cliffside resort. Chloe was a vision of curated, manicured bliss, buzzing with a bride's nervous energy. Daniel looked like a man walking to the gallows, his smiles tight and brittle. The money was gone. I knew it. This wedding was a glittering facade built on maxed-out credit and sheer, breathtaking audacity. The rehearsal dinner was a lavish spectacle. Chloe gave a speech, fake tears glistening in her eyes. "And my maid of honor, Leah. You've built this dream with me. You've taken my pain and turned it into something beautiful." The hypocrisy was so thick I could taste it, metallic and bitter, like a mouthful of old coins. I smiled, raising my glass. "To dreams," I said. The toast was swallowed by everyone. That night, in my villa overlooking the dark, churning ocean, I made my final preparations. I opened the encrypted folders on my laptop. I had 3 files. File 1, the business plan, the stolen Chloe Design Comfort document, with my metadata still screaming from the digital grave, showing creation dates from months before my breakup. File 2, the timeline, a curated, undeniable scroll of text messages between her and Daniel, synchronized with my own calendar entries showing when he was working late or she was forgetting our meetings. File 3, the financials, screenshots, clean and clear, showing the transfer of our last business reserves into her personal account the week before the hard drive crashed. I loaded them onto a sleek, tiny flash drive. Then I took out my phone and opened the resort's event app. I had generously offered to handle all the wedding tech. I had admin access to everything, the digital projector, the massive screens flanking the altar, the crystal clear sound system. I drafted one final email to Daniel's primary investor, a stern, silver-haired man named Robert Vance, who sat at the family table, looking vaguely bored. The email's subject line was blank. The body contained one line: "Watch the screen, then check your investments." I scheduled it to send at exactly 8:15 p.m., the moment the toasts were meant to begin. I closed my laptop. The work was done. All that remained was the performance. The wedding day was a postcard. The sky was a cruel, perfect blue. The 10-foot peony arches were indeed breathtaking. Chloe looked like a porcelain doll in her monstrously elaborate gown. She squeezed my hands before walking down the aisle, her eyes wide. "I love you, Leah. I love you too," I said. And in that moment, it wasn't entirely a lie. I loved the ghost of the girl she'd been. I was here to give that ghost a proper burial. The ceremony was a beautiful blur. Vows were exchanged, rings were placed, they were pronounced husband and wife. The crowd erupted. I plastered a serene smile on my face and followed the bridal party to the cliffside reception, where the chamber orchestra played and champagne flowed like a river of lies. Dinner was served. Speeches began. The best man droned. Daniel's father told a bland, embarrassing story. Then it was my turn. Chloe beamed at me from the sweetheart table, her eyes shining with manufactured tears. My matron of honor, my sister, Leah. The room applauded politely. I stood smoothing the navy silk of my dress. I walked to the center of the dance floor, took the microphone from the DJ, and tapped it softly. The sound echoed in the suddenly quiet room. 200 faces, family, friends, Daniel's crucial business contacts, turned to me. I smiled. A warm, genuine, terrifying smile. "Chloe, Daniel, what a beautiful day." My voice was calm, clear, and carried to the very back of the marquee. You know the old saying, something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue? A soft, polite chuckle rippled through the crowd. I saw Chloe's smile tighten at the edges. "Chloe's dress is certainly new," I said, pausing just a beat too long. "The something old would be my business plan from 2022. I clicked the small remote in my hand. The massive, beautiful screen behind them, which had been cycling through glossy engagement photos, flickered. Then it displayed, in crisp, horrifying detail, the Chloe Design Calm business plan. My client list, my designs, my words. A single line was highlighted in yellow. Proprietary process developed by Leah Carter, 2019-2022. A wave of confused murmurs swept the room. Chloe's face drained of all colour, leaving 2 spots of garish blush on her cheeks. Daniel stared, unmoving, as if turned to salt. "There's something borrowed," I continued, my tone still conversational, like I was discussing the weather. "Appears to be my fiancé for about 14 months. According to these logs." Click. The screen split. On one side, their text messages appeared, scrolling in a slow, damning parade. "Can't wait to see you tonight. She's working late, come over. The ring she wants is so tacky." On the other side, my own calendar entries appeared alongside them. "Work dinner with Daniel. Meeting with Chloe re-wedding flowers." The murmurs turned to sharp gasps. Daniel's mother put a hand over her mouth. His father stared, stony-faced. Chloe shot up from her seat, her chair screeching against the stone floor. "Turn it off! Someone turn it off!" she shrieked, her voice raw and breaking. The resort tech guy, who I'd paid a small fortune to be unavailable, was nowhere to be seen. "And the something blue," I said, my voice dropping, losing all pretense of warmth, becoming a blade. I turned my gaze directly to Robert Vance, the investor who was now leaning forward, his elbows on the table, staring at the screen with the intensity of a hawk. "Is likely the mood of your lead investor, Daniel, when he discovers the lucrative new venture he funded is propped up by embezzled business capital and intellectual property theft." Click the final screen, bank transfers. The movement of the last of Ink and Alchemy's funds. The dated invoices showing her new company using my stolen designs for her first clients. The silence that followed was absolute, profound. You could hear the wind whistling off the cliff, the distant cry of a gull. You could hear 200 people holding their breath. I looked back at Chloe. Her beautiful, perfect facade had shattered, revealing the raw, furious, terrified creature beneath. Daniel had his face buried in his hands, his shoulders hunched. I placed the microphone gently on the edge of the sweetheart table, right next to her half-eaten slice of cake. It landed with a soft, final thump. "I wish you both the joy you deserve," I said. My words fell into the quiet like stones into a deep, dark well. I turned. I didn't run, I walked. Slowly, deliberately, my heels clicking on the stone path, through the parted crowd that stared at me with a mixture of horror and awe. I didn't look back. The last sound I heard from the wedding wasn't a scream or a shout. It was the collective, stunned exhalation of 200 people who had just witnessed a social and professional execution. The car I'd prearranged was waiting, its engine purring. As we drove down the winding mountain road, my phone, tucked in my clutch, began to vibrate. Once, twice, then a continuous angry hum. Calls from unknown numbers, text alerts buzzing like trapped flies. I took it out, watched the screen light up with her name, with his name, and I powered it off. The silence returned. The aftermath was a wildfire that consumed everything in its path. Robert Vance pulled his 7-figure funding that very night, launching an immediate fraud investigation. Clients abandoned Chloe en masse the next morning, many sending emails directly to my new business address with apologies and new project inquiries. The wedding vendors, left holding unpaid balances totaling over $200,000, filed liens against everything with their names on it. The story didn't just leak, it exploded, not as petty gossip, but as a stunning modern-day parable about greed, betrayal, and the architecture of consequence. I heard they lasted 6 weeks. The divorce was messy, public, and mutually destructive. They tore each other apart in court, trying to allocate blame for the financial and social ruin. Both were left bankrupt, professionally blacklisted, and utterly, completely alone. My business, however, thrived. The story of my quiet resurrection, paired with the brutal exposure of their theft, became my most powerful credential. People don't just respect a survivor, they trust someone who has walked through the fire of betrayal and built something beautiful and unshakable from the ashes. Ink and Alchemy, in its new form, grew in ways the old one never could have. I never planned another wedding, but I've designed some exquisite comeback stories. This story isn't about anger. Anger is a cheap fuel. It burns fast and leaves you empty. This is about restoration. It's about taking the narrative that was stolen from you, the story someone else tried to write you out of, and rewriting it with such devastating, meticulous clarity that the truth can no longer be ignored. It's about becoming the calm, quiet architect of your own justice. If this story of a best friend's ultimate betrayal and the wedding revenge that followed has gripped you, if you felt that cold, clean click of the trap springing shut, then I need you to do two things. First, let me know you're here, right now. Drop a comment below. Just say, "The toast," or tell me the city you're watching from. Was it justified? Did I go too far? Every single comment is a signal. It tells YouTube's algorithm that this true story of consequence has a real, pulsing audience, that real people are engaging with this tale of karma, and it should be shown to more people who need to hear it. And second, this is the most important part. If you want to join me for more stories like this, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. By subscribing, you're not just adding another channel to a list, you're becoming part of the Boomerang Stories community. You're telling me you want to explore every single week the intricate, often painful, but ultimately just ways that actions return to their source. You're ensuring you never miss the next tale of patience, precision, and poetic justice. Your subscription is your vote. It's you saying, yes, more stories like this, more deep dives into the shadows where karma waits, more narratives about the quiet ones who finally decide to speak. It's what allows me to keep searching for these true stories and bringing them to you with the honesty and depth they deserve. So if this journey into the heart of a wedding built on lies held you, if you believe that what goes around doesn't just come around, but comes back with perfect, calculated clarity, please subscribe, ring the bell, join us. This has been Boomerang Stories. I'm Alana. Remember, the most beautiful ceremonies can hide the deepest faults. And sometimes all it takes is one person with the courage to speak the truth and a well-timed click of a remote. Until next time.